speak about what's acceptable and what's not regarding work for Muslim women who want to please Allah and take care of their children and husband, but want to pursue a career, and this is not for any financial needs?
So it's not possible to give a blanket ruling on this, right? There's several things to consider. Firstly, there's no categorical prohibition on a woman to work after marriage. Okay, number one. Number two, at the same time, there isn't any expectation on a woman to work insofar as the husband is obligated to provide for both wife and family. And that's a religious obligation. The husband is obligated to provide for the wife and family, even if the wife is wealthy. Okay? So we have, a young man gets married named Umar, and he marries a millionaire lady called Layla. So Umar says, I want to sit and write poetry. Can you provide for me? No. Even if she's wealthy, she doesn't have to buy a slice of bread for herself. Okay? He's obligated to provide for her. Now they can agree to the contrary of that, but so that's something to keep in mind. The third thing to keep in mind is that while in anything, the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ has come to us with the perfect balance. Previous traditions talked about virtue as being a balance, and the idea of the golden mean in things. But the Prophet ﷺ showed us not the golden mean, but the perfect mean, the perfect balance. And part of that is, that khairul umuri awsatuha, the best of matters are the most balanced. And there's balance when all considerations are given their due. And one of the considerations is that of the greatest things what one could do in society is to raise children. Right? That is one of the greatest of tasks. And while that is not all that a woman is for, right? That is not to be denigrated. Right? That you're not working. It's almost like some kind of negative. So that aspect needs to be considered as well. And with that, the great virtue of motherhood, with that, what would be in the best, what would also be in the best interest of the children, of their well-being, all things considered. Also to be considered is, in approaching marriage or in marriage, is reasonable societal norms and personal expectations. So if Zubayr marries Zubaydah and she's right now in medical school, what is the reasonable expectation? Then why is she in medical school? Just to drop out and then not pursue her medical degree? Is that a reasonable expectation? No. Why did years she spent doing this? Why? Because this is something that she was keen about, and there's some consequent benefit too. So people's backgrounds and expectations are also considered. Right? They're in deciding that. So if a woman she's pursued a career, etc., and any human career has some potential, some actual or potential direct or indirect benefit for others, whatever it is. So there's some aspect of the public good that is considered in it. So there's a range of considerations. Right? Properly speaking, if two people are getting married, they should discuss these things beforehand, because we're in an age of fluctuating expectations. Our own personal expectations are in flux. So the same person may expect, well, I want 3 cooked meals a day, but he also wants his wife to earn a full salary, because we got to pay the bills and buy the house and do all these, live out the middle class dream or nightmare. And it doesn't add up. And the wife too will have many conflicting expectations. So these things before marriage, that's why many of the scholars urge that people should have written, besides the marriage contract, which too few people have written marriage contracts, properly thought out, that secure and clarify rights, to also have a marriage agreement in which the key areas that affect the marriage are discussed and agreed upon beforehand, at least broadly. And one of the most important is with respect to the wife's studying and work, also related to how they will handle finances, children, okay? And other such areas. The class that we have on Seekers on successful marriage touches upon contracts and marriage agreements and the key areas to look at in properly